In this video, we're going to talk about Season 1 of New World and whether or not the Season Pass is going to be worth it or not. Now, the first thing that I want to make clear is that the seasonal content is different from the Season Pass. The content of Season 1 is free, and there are 2 tracks of the Season Pass, one of which is also free. It's only the second track of that reward track which you have to pay for. So I know many of you will be already familiar with this, but basically if I press escape and I go into Season Pass, this here is free. This top line here is free, but the one just behind my head is the premium one. Basically, you can work through and you get 100 levels and you get the rewards as you go with the free one. If you buy the premium one, you also get that. You can buy the premium one later and still have them unlocked as long as you've got that rank on the free pass, or just in general. So everybody get access to the top one and everybody gets access to the journey and the activity cards, right? And what there is also as a free content patch basically is there is an expansion to the story. It's not a massive quest chain, but there is a quest chain. I can't remember exactly where it starts. I think it starts here at this crow's nest. I'm not going to spoil that for you. Suffice to say, it's a little bit short in terms of the story, but I actually think the content of it is pretty damn nice. The way that the storytelling is told is much better than it has been previously. They utilize some cutscenes. I think we had a placeholder for a cutscene, but there is also the in-game cutscenes, if you will. The ones where, you know, like the camera shifts and it looks like the actual characters are moving from one place to another. And that is really fascinating. That happens in a couple of places. And again, I'm not going to show any because I don't want to spoil it, but it is very similar to the way that Brimstone Sands did that. And they've just updated it in the rest of Eternum, basically. Now, with that quest, there is actually a couple of bits where there's quite a bit of walking, actually. But overall, yeah, I felt like it was good. As I said, the content is only about 2 hours, but you have to keep in mind that that content is free, right? It's not what you're paying for if you buy the premium pass. So the content, the stamps and the XP and the seasonal rewards that are on the free track, all free. And for the whole content patch, we're obviously getting the massive PvP changes. I believe Brightwood and Weaver's Fen are getting reworked. I think that's in this patch. So there's some big things in this patch that aren't really the seasonal content, if that makes sense. A lot of that will actually just stick around. Now, they did say that the seasonal story, when it gets moved on to Season 2, will probably get tweaked a little bit. So if you're a fresh 60 and you're starting from scratch, you'll probably miss out on some of the story a little bit. It'll just be tweaked into a more consistent story, I think. Now let's talk about value. When it comes to the reward track and how value you want to place on it, it's a little bit like how much is a piece of string, right? It depends what you value over other things. So some of the main things you're going to get that maybe you'll want is you will get legendary items. In fact, on the PTR, the first one you get has legendary items in it. Now, if you're already invested in slot, then this gear might not be worth to you. But with the big meta changes coming, maybe it will. It's really hard to say. And there's lots of like loot boxes here, but some of them don't contain gear, some of them contain just materials. Some of the ones, like the ones here, contains loot from some of the expeditions. It's really hard to say how much gear you get. I will say that they have sort of cleverly put most of the loot boxes towards the end. Now, what's on the PTR could change from live, but it's worth mentioning that that's the way they're currently doing it. So you're going to get lots of legendary pieces of gear. I've only seen the one emote on the premium track. By the way, I'm not going to talk about the free track because everybody gets that. It's not really deciding whether or not it's worth because you get it already. However, with the Marks of Fortunes, it looks like you get about 4,000 Marks of Fortunes on the premium track. And it's worth pointing out that you actually do get 2,500, I believe, on the free track. If I've miscalculated somewhere along the lines, then fine, you can tell me, but it's not really going to be a big issue, I don't think. So all in all, if you buy the premium reward track and you complete it all, you'll get about 6,500 back. As a give or take, I'm not sure I've calculated that correctly. Now, the cost of the whole thing is going to be 20,000 marks, we believe. So if you complete it, that'll get knocked down to about 13,000. You also get 13 individual skins, which I think is basically going to be a full, complete set of skins from the free and the premium reward track combined. On the premium track, I calculated that you get about 12,000 gold as well. Now, that's not going to be a massive deal for a lot of players out there at this point, but you know, it's nothing to sniff at. You also get these flame cores. Now, these look like they're going to have 2 main purposes. One, they're going to be used at the forge, which I'm probably going to talk about at some other point. And 2, you sort of need them to craft the human trophies, which is a weird thing to say, but that's what they are. You know, the trophies that give you damage extra against humans, only in PvE. Well, that's what you're going to need these for. And it looks like you're going to need a lot of them. They're bind on pickup, and I think even like the ones that you get out in the world are also bind and pickup. I'm assuming that the best place to get these is going to be the Imperium Forge, but I mean, I actually don't know. They're a bit of a pain in the backside to get outside of the expedition, so let's hope they're actually dropping in the expedition as well. You do also get some other stuff, like you will get some Umbral Shards, you get some boosts as well, which I actually aren't on this page, but you do get some boosts. Like here you get a territory standing boost. You do get some raw materials, so here you get some vials of suspended Azoth, but for example here you get some consumables, and in this one you actually get like Asmodeum and stuff like that. All in all, is the premium reward track going to be worth 20,000 marks of fortune? I think if you try and compare it to the value that they sell you other things, like if you compare it to the value of skins and emotes and stuff like that, then yes, it will be technically worth, right? If you think about it in terms of what you actually need to play, then it's sort of questionable. Yes, it's going to give you a bit of an advantage. It's obviously better to have more materials than to have less materials. It's obviously better to have more consumables than less consumables. It's probably better to have chances of getting really good gear in a legendary box, even though the legendary box isn't really going to give you much most of the time. It's nice to have 12,000 gold. It's nice to have some gypsum orbs. Everything's sort of nice to have, right? Nothing in here is bad. They're not going to give you anything bad. That's not the point. If you objectively say the value of things, then it's hard to say that, right? It's not like I can compare how much Asmodeum is, try and calculate how much gold that's going to give me, try and work out if it's all worth if you compare it to like RMT. That's not really feasible. Personally, I think it's probably worth if you really enjoy New World and you played a lot anyway. The story itself, yes, it only takes about 2 hours, but the developers reckon that you'll complete it generally in about 50 to 60 hours. Now, Fivehead's managed to absolutely just blitzes out and he's level 100. If you want to see a more closer detail of how he opened all of his rewards, then I'll leave a link to his video. But as I said, it's worth pointing out that this journey, this activity card, free, and the free track, obviously free. The only thing you're paying for is the premium, and that's basically just free materials. You're going to get in-game materials, in-game things for like real life money. Some of it will be skins and emotes and stuff, but some of it will be materials and armor and stuff like that. I think, as I said, if you really like the game and you're going to play it and you're going to play those 50 to 60 hours to complete the reward track, then yeah, get the premium pack, right? If you can afford it. Obviously, if finances are a bit of an issue for you, then, you know, don't buy it. You don't need it, do you? But if you want to support the game, I'll be buying it personally, and I'll be trying to complete it. I think it will actually sort of give me a bit more incentive to get up the reward track, because I'm not just going to get the free track, I'm going to get both. So I'll be like, oh, what am I getting this time? It'll keep me a little bit engaged. But value is always subjective, right? And there's no way I can possibly come to a full conclusion to tell you if it's worth or not. We've listed how much marks of fortune you get, how much gold you get, but I don't know if you're going to get an item that you really need from one of the boxes. Maybe you will. That's the hook of these, isn't it? They're literally loot boxes, sort of that little gamble excitement. It sort of gets you going a little bit. If a game was ever going to go mildly pay to win, and let's say I think that this is mildly pay to win, then I think this is the best kind of way, right? It's capped. You're not going to really expand beyond this reward track. You're not going to get more legendaries because you can't buy premium twice. You can maybe buy another character, but it's all bind and pick up stuff. So for me, this is the best way to go about things. And while $20 or whatever it ends up being sounds a little bit expensive, if you've been playing New World for over a year and a half and you bought it for $40, it doesn't sound that bad, does it? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you want to support me, then you can become a YouTube member or Patreon. Either's fine, it's all good stuff. Or come and follow me over on Twitch. What I hope you do though is have a most beautiful day. Like and subscribe. Goodbye.